We are recording this for the purpose of others being able to hear at times that are more convenient for them, or for pastors and other leaders to be able to share this information with their congregations. We are pleased to have you with us, and especially pleased today to welcome our region's representative from Growing Hope Globally. Rachel Connolly is our regional director serving Indiana and Michigan and Ohio. And this is the part that I think I'm very jealous of: agricultural development area programs in Asia. I want to hear more about that. But Rachel will be telling us more about Growing Hope Globally's ministry, including the impact the programs they support are having around the world, and how congregations in Wabash Valley Presbytery can get involved using your own resources to make a difference in the lives of our global neighbors. If you're looking at the screen and you see Rachel's PowerPoint, but would like to see her face, as soon as she begins speaking, her picture will be highlighted and you'll get to see her beautiful face. In the meantime, she's able to see all of ours, and others have joined us, and that's terrific. And so, Rachel, some of the group that's been with us here and at other times over the summer met Carlos Maleve, who was the regional representative. You have stepped back into that role. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So Carlos was with us for about 10 months, and then he took over the region I previously had at that time, but I'm back.
Well, we're glad you're back. You're new to
Thank
us,
you.
but not new to Growing Hope Globally. And I would love for you to begin as though there are some folks in our midst who don't know anything about Growing Hope Globally, recognizing that there are others of us who are a little bit more familiar, but can always use a refresher. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I'd just like to start out by saying, please have some grace and mercy on me. I've been struggling with a cold for the last week, so I'm hoping I can make it through this without having to take breaks. So your understanding is appreciated. So I'm just going to run through a little presentation about Growing Up Globally, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. But if there's something that you you're just dying to know about in the middle, please feel free to pipe in then too. So Growing Up Globally was founded in 1999 in Ohio, and has long been an organization that is basically farmers in the U.S. helping churches and farmers in the U.S. helping churches and farmers around the world. Um, so our main mission, let me just see if I can make my PowerPoint go here. There we go. Our mission is, as a Christian response to hunger, we link the grassroots energy and commitment of rural communities in the U.S., the capability and desire of smallholder farmers in developing countries to grow lasting solutions to hunger. So our focus is not on providing, meals or food handouts, but it's finding those lasting solutions to hunger. And our vision is, we envision a day when all people around the world have enough to eat and the physical, financial, and community resources to live hopeful, healthy, productive lives. Our constructive role in this transformation is to raise resources to support sustainable smallholder agricultural development and to increase opportunities for all people to work together consciously toward a more just and equitable world for all. So our focus is on alleviating hunger, but doing that in a lasting way. 828 million people are currently suffering from hunger around the world. And I recently heard that something like 350 million people are currently at the brink of famine. Our goal is to help people to make a difference in people's lives before they get there. Most people suffering from hunger live in rural areas and depend on agriculture for their livelihood, yet struggle to make ends meet. I always personally thought before working here that, hunger was mainly a city thing, people in the slums or people in urban areas that couldn't find work, but actually about 80% of those suffering from hunger live in rural areas. And you can make a difference from right where you are in Indiana. So we support agricultural development programs that make a lasting impact. We work with our member organizations, and I'll show you who those are in a minute, and their trusted local partners to provide the right tools and training to help families know the dignity and hope of providing for themselves. So we have a group of member organizations here in the US, the development arms of several different denominations and other organizations like Church World Service that encompass a lot of denominations. These are our international partners. And then with the programs we support, they will often have another local partner who's on the ground already working in those communities. And that's who we partner with to support agricultural development. The programs we support improve incomes, enabling parents to send their kids to school, afford medical care, and improve their housing. They allow participants to thrive in their home communities rather than migrating to find work because they can make a living through farming. They build resilience to flooding, drought, and other disasters through sustainable and diversified farming methods. They help families to grow a variety of nutritious food so they have a balanced diet year-round. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. We currently have about I think it's about 40 programs in about 24 countries. My first number might be off, it might be more like 45. But we work in Asia, Africa, and Latin America supporting programs. This is one of the programs I get to work with closely in Bangladesh. This is Nazma. She said, previously our family ate mainly rice, not many vegetables. My husband worked as a day laborer. A few years ago, I joined the savings group as part of the program, and in addition to savings and lending, we learned about nutrition and growing vegetables. Now I know what to grow at certain times of the year and carefully plan around my crops so we have a balanced diet year round. Now I'm a woman and a farmer. This has been a huge change for me and for our culture. My husband still works as a day laborer to add to our income, but I'm using some of my income to send the kids to school, and I'm hoping to expand our farm as well. The change that this represents is huge. Most women in Bangladesh rarely leave home. They're definitely not allowed to go and farm. So working through a structure of savings groups and helping build up women and helping them help their families and themselves has been a huge culture shift, but a very good one, and it's making a huge difference through this program. The next program I'd like to share, this video is about a year old, but it's really good. I think this is one of the 2 programs we support through the Presbyterian Hunger Program. This one is in Cameroon, in West Africa, and it's in French, so watch those subtitles, but just a neat update of the impact this is making.
Pendant la période de soudure, dans notre communauté, on était confronté au problème de famine. Donc il n'y avait pas assez de nourriture durant certains mois de l'année. Généralement pendant le mois allant de juillet jusqu'à septembre.
Presque tout le monde dans le village font l'exode rural pendant la saison de pluie. Pour aller chercher de quoi manger, envoyer pour la famille pour survivre pendant cette période de soudure-là. Avec cette arrivée de greniers dans notre communauté, de la saison sèche comme la saison de pluie, nous mangeons 3 fois par jour, le matin, midi et soir.
Avant, quand il n'y avait pas le grenier, j'ai stocké, je vais dire, mes denrées alimentaires ou bien ce que je récolte de mes champs dans une seule maison et il y avait les insectes qui venaient bouffer cela. Depuis l'arrivée maintenant du grenier, comme il y a un bon traitement dans ce grenier, quand il stocke, je revends maintenant à une période très lointaine de la période de récolte, ce qui me permet d'avoir un bénéfice signifiant qui m'a permis vraiment de construire, je vais dire, ma chambre à dormir et d'acheter même l'âne pour cultiver, pour m'aider.
Depuis l'arrivée de ce projet, la vie de ma famille a changé. Aujourd'hui, nous vivons bien. Nous avons l'argent d'amener mes enfants à l'hôpital et nous mangeons 3 fois par jour. Grâce à la grenier, j'ai payé la scolarité de mes enfants et j'ai acheté le bélier.
Looks like I got cut off a little
Pendant
early
la
there, but whoops. So that's just a couple of examples of our programs that we support, and each program is different. Each program is, because it's led by a local partner organization and by built on the local needs and the local resources. Each one looks a little different, but they're all focused on agricultural development and helping people help themselves through agriculture. So we support those programs around the world through US growing projects. So we say you can make a lasting difference from right where you are. We give US communities the opportunity to respond to global hunger right where you are through our unique growing project model. So a growing project can look a lot of different ways, but the typical model is that a church, farmers, agribusinesses, civic groups, maybe an FFA chapter come together. Some people donate their time and the use of their equipment to farm. Other people might donate land, support seed costs and other agricultural input costs. Or sometimes it's done with animals, so provide feed for the animals, place for them to stay, etc. But in general, gather donations. Everyone has a role to play. Grow a crop or raise animals. Sell those crops or animals that result here in the US, and then use the money that's raised to support agricultural development programs around the world. Part of the neat thing about this is that, each person could just write a check, but by doing it together as a community, those impacts are really multiplied, and it makes a greater difference than what anyone could do on their own. For example, here in my home community, we have 2 churches that support our growing project, so they take offerings periodically. There's a farmer who dedicates time and use of equipment and will farm as many acres for the program as the churches raise the support for. Then also this year, they got a whole bunch of extra seed from a local agribusiness, and so they're adding that on. They sell the crop to another local, to a local poultry farm that's also excited about this. And that poultry farm gives us usually about twice the going rate for the corn. So that's their contribution, and it really multiplies it further. So that in the end, what the churches gave is usually about 1/8 of what the total is. So that's pretty neat. A way to multiply those gifts, and really everyone has a role to play. There's also a few landowners who dedicate a portion of their land rent-free for that farm. So by the way, this growing project here with the combine in the picture is in Lafayette, Indiana. So growing projects allow each person to use their unique gifts to make a lasting difference. They unite people from a variety of backgrounds with a common purpose. A lot of times they end up being ecumenical, or bring together a city church and a country church who may not have had much in common, but it brings them together around this common purpose of helping hungry people help themselves. And it provides an opportunity to learn about and grow from interactions with our global neighbors. So just last night, we had a webinar based on a trip that some of my colleagues took to Honduras earlier this month. And they took a few guests with them from the different growing projects, and they got to see firsthand the impact of this work and share that back with their home communities and see the difference. And it's just a learning opportunity. We don't go on trips and teach people stuff. We go on trips and we learn from the people that these programs serve. So that's, and we also share stories. Sometimes we bring guests from the programs here to the US and they get to share their stories. So it's a great way to learn from our global neighbors. So just a moment. Excuse me. So this is Jim, one of the Growing Project volunteers I get to work with here in Michigan. And he said, I support Growing Hope because it's so much more fulfilling than just putting a check in the mail. I plant and harvest the crops from a 12-acre farm and contribute the proceeds. There are many others in our area who contribute by farming or donating inputs. By working together, we make a big impact in the lives of hungry people. This is something we feel a clear call from God to do. Farming is my passion, and I love sharing it with other people around the world, even if they're farming with a shovel and a hoe instead of a planter and a tractor. It's a unique way of helping people help themselves. And I think a lot of us are probably in rural areas or have some rural roots. And there's just a sense of, farmers are, even though they might be farming a tenth of an acre versus 10,000 acres, there's just something about farmers that brings them together. So here's our impact this past year. Last year we had 130 US growing projects in 21 states. And we worked together with other funders to support 47 agricultural development programs in 30 countries, helping just over 200,000 people find lasting solutions to hunger. I just wanted to share with you where we are currently working in Indiana. So where the hearts are is where we currently have growing projects in Indiana. And so there might be one near you. There might not be. We have some blank areas that we'd love to fill in. And we'd also love to connect you if there is someone in your area. Maybe connect you with an existing group as well. So that is my opening spiel, and now I would like to open it up for questions.
Well, let me go ahead, Rachel, and ask the first question. Of the 11 sites on your website, which I think sort of looks like the hearts on the Indiana map, it's pretty close. 5 of them are within the bounds of our presbytery. The Albion Growing Project, the Napanee Growing Project, the Rossville Growing Project, and the Couts Growing Project. Suppose somebody on this call is not far from one of those areas. How would interested people connect with current growing projects in their area?
Probably the best thing to do would be to contact me. And I should have put my contact information on here, but I will do, well, it's Rachel at GrowingHopeGlobally.org, or my phone number is 616-283-0694. And maybe I can quick whip up a slide with that in a minute here so that it's on the screen. But and then I could connect you with the right people in that growing project, because it's a lot of personal relationships, and probably be best not to have it come out of the blue.
Oh, of
unless
course.
you happen to know someone at that church already. So let me make sure. So just to give you a sense of those 5, I think you said Rossville. So that's working with Emmanuel United Church of Christ in West Lafayette. No, sorry, in Lafayette. And then the farmer lives in Rossville, and that's just a single church growing project at this point. The one, it's sort of Valparaiso and Coates, in between there. The farmers, I believe, live in Coates, and then the church is in Valparaiso. That church that we're working with currently is a Disciples of Christ church. There have been other churches involved in the past, and I think there would be interest in that, but just not currently active. I think one of those churches was Mennonite and it closed down. Let's see here. You said Napanee. That is currently a Church of the Brethren. Just again, a single church working with some farmers in it. The Albion one is currently it's more of a community project. So that one has several people from several churches involved and several agribusinesses, lots of community members. They aren't necessarily with a specific church, but they would welcome the involvement of additional local churches. That one, I can't remember, but some of the people may attend a Presbyterian church. I'm not sure. So I could connect you with more information if anyone's in that area. Then what was the other one that you mentioned?
Albion, Napanee, Rossville, Coutts.
Okay, those four.
Wait, there should be another one. North Manchester is within our bounds.
Okay. And that one's kind of on the edge of existence at this point. That one was with a couple of churches of the Brethren, and they've stopped farming right now. The churches are just taking offerings for us, but there was some talk about maybe revitalizing that one. So if there's another local church involved, that would be amazing.
Okay. So if it's easier for you to put your information in the chat rather than creating a whole new slide, I mean, that slide might be fantastic just because it will then be captured in the presentation, but using you as the liaison, if a local church is interested in getting involved, would be the right next step.
Mm-hmm.
So tell some stories about how local churches have helped to support the work of Growing Hope, whether or not they have farmers right in their midst. You've told me some wonderful stories about pie sales and wonderful things and special offerings.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me give you an example of excuse me just a minute. Let me give you an example of one in Indiana. So the one that's up in the upper right corner of this map is Ashley, Indiana, and that one involves a small Church of the Brethren, Pleasant Chapel, which is in the rural area and is surrounded by farm ground. They have a lot of the farmers who are involved in the growing project, but then they partner with two churches in the Fort Wayne area, Plymouth United Church of Christ, Plymouth Congregational and Peace United Church of Christ. Both of those churches raise funds in different ways. Until recently, Peace would have a Christmas craft sale every year, and the proceeds of that would be part of their support for the inputs for the farming for their rural partners. Plymouth has an annual fundraising drive that they do, and sometimes they've done things like selling T-shirts or whatever as an additional fundraiser, and that's how they supply their part of the inputs. So you don't have to be in a rural area to be involved in it. It does help to have a rural partner. And that group comes together multiple times a year. The people from the city churches and the rural church, they have a worship service together. They have a summer picnic, and then they have a fall harvest celebration. So brings them together, and they've gotten to know each other in new ways that they probably never would have previously. You mentioned pie auctions. So there are in the let's see here, north, my struggling in northeast Illinois. So no, sorry, north central Illinois. So like just west of Chicago, there are 3 different growing projects that come together for an annual harvest celebration. They probably have 300 to 500 people there each year, and one of the ways that they raise funds together, so they're all raising funds through farming separately, but then they come together for this harvest celebration and they have an annual pie auction, and they sell pies for like $1,000. And so that's their joint contribution, but then they have learning opportunities for kids. Like you can see a sheep being sheared. They do all sorts of neat activities, and it just brings some attention to the farm for people who may not live in a farming community. There's another really neat partnership there with, it's the Ottawa, Illinois. There's a church in Ottawa, Illinois, and then in Barrington. And Barrington is a big suburb of Chicago. They actually do a few different things throughout the year. For example, they had a violin, or I think it was a violin, cello, and piano concert. They've got a huge auditorium, and they sold tickets to a very well done concert. And those ticket sales went to their growing project. The people from the more rural church there grow sweet corn, and a couple of times a year they bring a load of sweet corn in and sell it after church in the parking lot at the suburban church. So, honestly, it's just limited to your own creativity. There's many ways that you can do interesting things to raise funds, working together as a community, but ultimately supporting one of these projects. And there are a few churches that we work with who no longer are able to do the farming part, but they still feel strongly about working with us, and so they just take a few offerings a year, and that's their way of supporting this work. One thing I didn't mention is that you get to choose which program you support. So we don't decide for you. You get to look at the end of the year at our list of programs in need of funding and decide which one sounds interesting to you, which one might have a connection with your church. So that's usually around this time of year as harvest is winding down, and it is Christmas time, but it feels like Christmas time too, because we get to decide who we want to give the present of or the gift of hope and having enough of their own food to eat throughout the year too. So it's kind of a neat thing. And then if you choose to go later on and visit that program, that can be a neat opportunity as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's see if there are other questions. Joel, you are unmuted.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much for being with us today, Rachel. Pardon me, still have a little froggy in my throat from being sick a couple weeks ago. I'm up in the South Bend area in Indiana, and there's a farmer's market that's right down the street from our church. I was cruising around your website and saw that one of the ways of putting together like a growing project would be to partner with a farmer's market. And I'm wondering, I was looking through the example that was given from 2020, and I'm wondering if you had any other examples sort of on the other side of the pandemic with inflation kind of going wild. Are there still farmers markets interested in partnering and interested in offering to help feed those who may not have food while also still making a profit? I'm curious about that because I think that might be one way that we as an urban congregation could be able to be involved in this sort of project.
Excuse me. I wish I had an example, but I don't have any. We just have a couple of groups that are doing that, and unfortunately none of them are in my area, so I've been less familiar with that. It would certainly be a neat opportunity to explore. So definitely check that out. And, you know, it may work differently in your area than it does in other areas. So, sorry to give a non-answer, but I don't have one for you.
No, that's so
You'd be-
helpful. Everything
be
tends to be
willing.
contextual.
Yeah, Rachel,
Yeah.
you'd be willing though to be a liaison for such a
Absolutely.
conversation. You know,
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about it is that the model exists. Joel's
Sure.
got the farmer's market in his area, as do several other of you who are on the call today as well,
Yeah.
with different farmers markets. And the takeaway I'm going to have from this conversation is there's no limit to our creativity. And
Sure.
the best kinds of projects happen because of affinities, you know, that if we don't have a farmer in our midst, we might have a farmer's market around the corner. If we don't make pies, there may be something else we can do to create both the relationships and the meaningful commitment to mission that Growing Hope is all about. I think that lots of the questions that I get, and I know that lots of local pastors get, are about opportunities for people to have experiences of mission involvement. And it sounds like there's the potential for that as well too with Growing Hope Globally. Am
Yes.
I dreaming at night, or does that sound right to you as well?
That sounds right. The neat thing is it's an opportunity to do something hands-on here. Usually. Sometimes it's not hands-on, but often there's an opportunity to do something hands-on here. To make a difference around the world, but then to get to go, if that's something you desire to do, to go and see for yourself the difference it's making. So instead of, you know, we're going to go down there and do this for them, we're helping people help themselves, but then we get the opportunity to also take the next step of building those relationships or learning more about that, and just really seeing for ourselves the difference it can make, and also seeing some of the challenges that people are facing, and the different contexts that they're in. So I think it is probably more hands-on than a lot of mission opportunities, but on the flip side, the challenge is you have to figure out what works best in your context. And that's my job. I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to be part of those conversations as much as I can. But ultimately, you know better what's happening in your community than I do. So I'm happy to make connections and explain this 10 times if I need to. But ultimately, I can't do it for you. So yeah.
Oh,
Did that answer your question?
no, but you can be a partner, and that's you know, it's kind of,
Absolutely.
you know, like a game of tag. We're the liaison to the congregations, and we're introducing them to you, and you're willing to introduce all of us to a deeper conversation. The part I appreciate so much about what you said at the very beginning, that this is an organization devoted to addressing root causes of hunger, not just daily needs, which are certainly important, but the root causes, so that people are never hungry again.
That's our goal. That's our goal.
Let's see if there are any other questions on our film strip of people, because I'm still seeing a film strip. Lee, do you have a question? I see.
No, it certainly reminds me, though, of you give them fish or you teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
And this one is a teaching how to fish, isn't it?
Supporting people who already know how to fish and can fish better.
That's right. There you go.
Yes. Making sure people have access to the pond.
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you had any
Simple
relationship
first.
with the Farm Bureau co-op groups?
You know, I've tried a little bit in Indiana, especially,
Uh-huh.
and I did have a conversation with let's see here, I think it was the Tippecanoe County Farm Bureau,
Mhm.
but I haven't gotten a lot of traction there. But I'm certainly willing to revisit that. a lot of those conversations were happening right before COVID, and
Sure.
that kind of hit the brakes on a lot of them.
Well, I'm going to try to learn more and see if there are ways that I can be of help.
That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Scrolling to
Oops.
see. It's interesting, Rachel. You know, the insider baseball that I know about this call is that quite a number of the folks who are on the call are from the northern part of Indiana, closer to the Michigan border. We have one person on the call who is from the Rochester area, so not too awfully far from the North Manchester project, not too terribly far from the Rossville. I'm sorry that the Lafayette pastors and folks weren't able to join us today, because that would be great for them to learn about the Lafayette project, which sounds pretty vibrant.
Yeah, they're a fun group of people, and they're doing a lot. They do some interesting things. They have a harvest celebration every year too, and they have someone who picks like 3 programs to support, and at their harvest celebration, people can vote with pennies, quarters, dollars, whatever, for the program that they want to support, and the program that gets the most money in their jar is the program that they decide to support together throughout
Oh,
the year.
wow.
So it's pretty neat.
That's neat. So Rachel has put her contact information in the chat. For the recording, I'm going to read it one more time, if that's okay with you, Rachel. It's Rachel@GrowingHopeGlobally.org, and her number is 616-283-0694. And looking.
And that's also available on our website at GrowingHopeGlobally.org. So feel free to check that out too.
Lots
It's a lot more
great
resources there than I can cover in an hour or less. So please visit our website too.
Well, I'm very thankful that you shared some of the stories and the vignettes and testimonials from the international projects as well. You know, we get very interested in where we are on the map of Indiana, but we're also people who can learn much and grow in our understanding and our connections with our neighbors, our global neighbors. And I hope we'll have you back to hear more stories about Asia and the rest of the world, because there's lots to tell.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for joining us, and please let me know if there's anything that you're thinking about and if I can be of any service.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I want to let this group know that here in Advent, our next opportunity for Lunch, Learn, and Listen will be on December 15th, and it's timed so close to the end of the year because Marjorie Reinsch, our stated clerk, and Vicki Dreibelbiss, our administrative director, are going to lead clerks of session and other interested folks in a discussion of how to painlessly file annual statistical reports with the denomination. It's all on computer, and that is delightful to some people and confounding to others. And we are here living out our mission statement to make that easier for congregations and their leaders. So we hope you'll join us at our regular time and place and bat channel, noon Eastern time and 11 o'clock Central on Thursday. We're back to Thursdays on December 15th. And in the meantime, we're equally grateful for the opportunity to major in mission with you this day, Rachel. Thanks again for being with us. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. I hope we'll see you soon. And boy, oh boy, we can't wait till the opportunity presents itself for us to gather in person. Take good care. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.